MVS Cut, Ljarius Sneed potentially traded, and the Kansas City Chiefs on the verge of signing Chris Jones to a long-term extension. Chiefs Kingdom, we got a lot to discuss. So with that, let's get the chit chat and let's have some fun. Chiefs Kingdom, it's been a hot minute, but we are back. And the Kansas City Chiefs have never left. They have been busy this week. As we know, the NFL Scouting Combine is officially underway. And when that takes place, all the rumors get to swirling, and that's what happened. And Brett Veach, he was busy this week. So let's dive into some of the actions that took place. And we're going to start with the one that Chiefs Kingdom kind of anticipated to happen, and they wanted to happen for a while. Unfortunately, it's that Marquez Valdes-Scantling was cut by the Kansas City Chiefs earlier last week. It's no surprise to anyone. And honestly, like I mentioned, the writing was on the wall, but he ended up redeeming himself. He had a phenomenal playoffs off of a season that was one to forget, where Chiefs Kingdom wanted him out since like week 5. He had some brutal drops. But when the time mattered the most, he showed up, and he showed up big in the divisional, in the championship game, and even in the Super Bowl where he had a touchdown. It's a good thing to go out on the right way. He goes out as a 2-time Super Bowl champ. And honestly, there was just no way the Kansas City Chiefs were going to keep him at that price point when he was due $12 million next year. That now is turned into free cap space for them, where they're going to try to remake this wide receiving room, because best believe it's going to look nothing like it was. There will be a few faces there that were from this year, but next year, it's going to be completely different. They're going to add in free agency. They're going to add in the draft. So best believe Mahomes is going to have a whole new set of weapons. Now let's go into some small coaching news, because yes, the Kansas City Chiefs even had some little coaching news that took place, and it kind of got Chiefs Kingdom a little bit of frantic. And it was their defensive backs coach, Dave Merritt. He went on an interview with the San Francisco 49ers, but the San Francisco 49ers ended up hiring Brandon Staley, and then they hired another guy who I can't remember off the top of my head, but it wasn't Dave Merritt. So Chiefs Kingdom and the Kansas City Chiefs are very thankful that Dave Merritt will come back, and I really believe that Clark Hunt, Brett Veach, Andy Reid, whoever the one is giving the raises, Dave Merritt is due as well. It's good to have him in that defensive coaching room, because he is a defensive star in the making. It's crazy when you look at these defensive coaches, everyone just looks at Steve Spagnuolo. But it's great to see that the Chiefs defensive coaches are going to stay in line, because that's crucial for a team that's trying to make a three-peat. And that's the reason why this young defense looks stellar. And these assistant coaches are just as good as what Steve Spagnuolo is, and they deserve just as much as credit. And speaking of Steve Spagnuolo, there was a report that came out today which was very interesting and caught my eye, was that the 49ers wanted to pursue him, but the Kansas City Chiefs said, no. We're going to keep him, which they did when they extended him to, I believe, a 3-year contract worth $5 million a year. So we knew Spagnuolo could have been a hot commodity, but we also never really believed we would have lost him. Well, there was teams after him, and 49ers were one of them. Now, let's get into the Kansas City Chiefs' big name free agents, because honestly, with Ljarius Sneed and Chris Jones, whatever Brett Veach does with these two is what's going to make the Kansas City Chiefs the winners of this free agency and headed to the draft. And it doesn't mean he has to keep them. Well, he's got to keep one of them, which we're going to discuss. But he's got to make the best move and best thing available for the Kansas City Chiefs. And when I mean that, we're going to center the attention around Ljarius Sneed. Because last week, rumors started swirling. And the first one that came out was that the Kansas City Chiefs will, in fact, place the franchise tag on Ljarius Sneed. But it did not stop there. The Kansas City Chiefs are also open to, if they can't get a long-term deal done with Ljarius Sneed, they will let Ljarius Sneed explore a trade. And it got Chiefs Kingdom to lean back and be like, whoa, okay, we can lose a star player. But Chiefs Kingdom, we've been in this position before, and this is why we always say, in Veach we trust. Because this is a prime example of what I mean is, you can lose a key player, but what you get in return and what can help benefit this team moving forward is huge and crucial. Yes, I of anyone would love to see Ljarius Sneed on this team, but I also do realize that this is a business, and what that means is everyone can't get paid. So you need to find a way to get that next man up or that replacement on this team or another piece to make this team better. That way you can do a three-peat. And teams that have been rumored to be interested in Ljarius Sneed have been the Philadelphia Eagles, the Atlanta Falcons, and as of late now, new reports of the Detroit Lions and yes, the Miami Dolphins. It's going to be very interesting to see what the Kansas City Chiefs do with Ljarius Sneed, but right now, it doesn't seem like, at least in my perspective, Ljarius Sneed will be a Chief. So expect a trade, and it will come quick, because with the Kansas City Chiefs, other reports came out that with the tag being placed on Ljarius Sneed, you gotta believe Chris Jones and the Chiefs are working on a deal, and they need to get one done before free agency, because if they don't, anyone can go after that big man, and that's exactly the case. Brett Veach, Kansas City Chiefs, Chris Jones is priority number one for this team, as should be. You need a sign, seal, deliver him, and reports are saying now that if the Chiefs can get into that $27 million a year to $28 million a year, Chris Jones will be a Chief next year. And I'm just like, we're not there yet? Like, what's going on? Reports last year were saying $30 million a year. And you would think, okay, well, we know we got to get closer to that. And we know Chris Jones deserves every dollar. If we're still floating around that 24 to 25 million, you got 2 weeks to close that gap. Because if you don't, you're going to be negotiating with everyone and their mama for Chris Jones. Everyone needs a piece like Chris Jones. They know what kind of game changer he is. Just turn on the tape for the Super Bowl. And that's what the Kansas City Chiefs need to do. It's time to stop being stingy. It's time to re-sign your own guys. And it starts with Chris Jones. You give him a 3-year deal. You pay that man and you build around him as well. You still got pieces like George Karlaftis. And if you happen to trade Ljarius Sneed, you can get draft capital and you could keep adding to this defense. But what's so crucial in all of this and what really leads me to believe that Ljarius Sneed will be traded is because the Kansas City Chiefs will officially place that tag on Sneed. That's $19 million that's going to be taken away from the cap. So that means the Chiefs aren't going to be able to fit a Chris Jones extension in before free agent period starts. And that's where they have to be compliant with. Every team has to be under the cap when the free agent period begins. Now, there's ways the Kansas City Chiefs can work around it. They can restructure Mahomes. They can restructure a lot of guys to be sure they are under the cap. But one way to be sure you are under the cap is to trade Ljarius Sneed, and that $19 million falls off your books. So these next 2 weeks, it's going to be a whirlwind. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be exciting. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. But center of attention right now for me is Ljarius Sneed. I believe that's the first domino to fall. Whether he signs an extension, whether he is traded, he is going to be that main piece. And then afterwards, focus on Chris Jones. I don't believe Chris Jones gets an extension done till either Sneed gets an extension, which I know a lot of people are hopeful for, but I don't believe, or if he's traded. And then it's like, okay, now we can ramp this thing up and we can get Chris Jones signed, sealed, and delivered. And now let's jump into the rumor mill a little bit because like I said, we are only a couple of weeks away from free agency. So let's talk about some of these hot rumors. And we know the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be after wide receivers. Who would have guessed it? After watching the 2023 NFL season, duh, it's going to happen. But everyone expects them to be after these big name receivers, whether it be T. Higgins, even though he had the franchise tag placed on him. Mike Evans will be officially a free agent, which is bizarre to me. But Jeremy Fowler mentioned that the Chiefs may center their attention on a guy like Darnell Mooney. And Chiefs Kingdom may not be initially happy with that, but here's why you need to center that attention and be happy with that. Because Darnell Mooney, one, He's a very, very good receiver in this league. Is he a receiver number one? No, he is not. But watch how Brett Veach builds this team. And I believe in the draft, you can get a very, very good weapon. And even at pick number 32, you may be able to get a future wide receiver number one. That is something you can't really say you can find in the free agent period. Now, Mike Evans is a wide receiver number one, but we know how Brett Veach moves. One, he usually doesn't like to pay the big dollars, and he doesn't like to pay people or players, however, I said that weird, but players that are over 30. And Mike Evans fits both of those criteria that Veach doesn't typically go after. So, center it around the draft. And this wide receiver class is just bizarre. And I know a lot of y'all saw Worthy run a 4.21. That was ridiculous. He would be an exciting piece on this team, but also look at guys like Brian Thomas Jr., Adonai Mitchell. I know a lot of people like, I'm going to mess his name up, Lad McConkey. There's a lot of receivers in this class where I believe, man, you can run with Rashee Rice, you add a guy like Darnell Mooney, and you draft a guy. That's 3 options right there. And you're still going to have guys like Justin Watson on this team as well. This receiving core going into next year will be way better than what it was last year. So don't be upset if the Chiefs go after a guy like Darnell Mooney because you wanted Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr. The list goes on and on. The Chiefs got a plan, and it's all going to work out. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, I'm going to cut this video off. It's good to be back. It's fun to be back. We're a couple of weeks away from free agency, so you already know it's going to get fast and furious, and we're going to be zoned in. So with that, please be sure you do subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please leave that big thumbs up. I'm checking out. Y'all take care. Peace.